Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Cleopatra, and this is
Jair.
And we are here for the couples Q&A for the Fertility and Pregnancy Institute. And as always, this is for educational purposes only. Hi, everybody. So good to see you here. Can you say hi to everybody?
Yes.
We're gonna see if we can monitor Facebook today so that we can acknowledge people as they're joining us. Okay, let's see how this works. So today we are answering the question. Are you in?
Let's am in.
Okay, I'm on my ball chair. So we are answering the question, what is the single most important thing a couple can do when they're starting to think about having a baby? And of course, my answer is obvious. Yes. It is trimester, but there's a very specific step of the trimester that is most relevant to this question of what does a couple want to do? What's the single most important thing that they can do when they're starting to think about having a baby? And it's what we call in the trimester the foundational fertility cost benefit analysis. So one of the most important things that I can help a couple do when they're starting to think about having a baby, or even when they've been having difficulty having a baby, is to consider the bigger picture and really think about, like we do for our own family every single year and really every single day, to think about the bigger picture of what your ideal life and your ideal family looks like. Hi, everybody. We're so happy you're here. So especially when there are fertility challenges present, the focus becomes really narrow, and that makes perfect sense. You're just really focused on figuring out what needs to be figured out in order to have your baby. And really what we want to do is always be thinking about the bigger picture, even when there are fertility challenges present, and also when you're just starting to think about having a baby. So the thing that you want to ask yourself in your foundational fertility cost benefit analysis is this. So it has multiple parts. Number one, how much longer do I believe I have in my reproductive span? So from where I am today, regardless of what choices I could have made differently, different turns I could have taken, etc., how much longer do I believe I am capable of having a biological child? Now, there are all kinds of objective indicators that we can look at for this for both men and women. Hi, everybody. But really, in this foundational cost benefit analysis, the place to start is just with your own instincts and really listening to yourself and trusting what your own inner knowing is telling you and what your own body is telling you. And this is important for both men and women, because yes, we talk about the time pressure on women because of their biological clocks, but men have their own version of a biological clock. Their reproductive span lasts longer into their lifespan than a woman's reproductive span does, but you start to see a drop in male fertility around the mid 30s, just like you do for women. Obviously, the drop is not as significant, etc., and there's a lot of individual variability. But the reproductive span is relevant to both men and women. So the number one question in your fertility cost benefit analysis is, what's my instinct about how much longer I have in my reproductive span? So we both know that I have this personal challenge to myself to stay fertile until I'm 50 years old. Not that we're going to be having children until I'm 50. He's like, oh God, no, please. But because I just have this personal challenge that I want to see that I can extend my fertility until I'm 50 years old. I've been monitoring my fertility since my 20s, and obviously because I do this work, and I monitor my fertility super closely, and I want to keep monitoring and just keep seeing that through living the primester life, which is essentially how I live at all times, or at least I would say, what do you say, like 90% of the time?
90% for sure.
Okay. The ways I fall short, I can talk about at some time, but the main thing is sleep, and I'm always really honest about that. And so I want to see, with living the primester life and having lived this way really for decades already, can I extend my fertility out until I'm 50? So my instinct is that I probably can extend my fertility out until I'm 50. That would be in my foundational fertility cost benefit analysis. I would say that I have another 8.5 years. I'm almost 42. So another a little more than 8 years left to be able to have biological children. So then the next question is, and what would you say for your is like I could guess this.
Well, let's just say I'm going to keep one in the barrel.
I don't even know what that means. I have no idea what that means.
Until the last day.
But I'm sure that my hubby's like, I can have babies until I'm 100.
That's right.
So I'm confident that would be his answer. I don't know what one in the barrel means. Hi, everybody. So, let me check Facebook. So that's the number one question. The second question is, what conditions need to be present in order for me to feel comfortable starting to have children? So if you're single and you know you need to have a partner, I'm sure that's one of your conditions. If you're partnered, but you feel like you want to be married before you start having children, as opposed to just being in a committed relationship, then that's going to be one of your conditions. If you feel like you want to have a certain level of job security, you want to have reached a certain level of seniority in your company, you want to have a certain amount of money in the bank, you want to own a house, whatever the conditions are for you that are necessary for you to feel safe and comfortable having children, that's what I want you to include in this number 2. So for me, I definitely wanted to be not only in a committed relationship, but I wanted to have children in the context of a marriage. And so I knew that was one of my conditions that I required was having children.
She locked me down.
That's right. Exactly. And aren't you blessed for that? And let's see, what else? For me, I wanted to have completed my PhD and my postdoctoral fellowship before having children. And because I had already answered question number 1 for myself based on my instincts, and I had backed that up with concrete objective information from monitoring my fertility through the Get Pregnant in No Time formula, which those of you who are doing the trimester protocol know all about. Some of you just do the Get Pregnant in No Time formula to either to time your pregnancy as precisely as you can. That's what we used in order to time the birth of our babies. So all of our babies are born in March. We picked when our babies would be born because we use the trimester protocol and the Get Pregnant in No Time formula specifically to do that. And then also in the process of collecting data on your fertility, you can prevent pregnancy using the Get Pregnant in No Time formula if you're meticulous about it until you're ready to get pregnant, right? So because I was collecting data on my body through the Get Pregnant in No Time formula and through larger testing that I would do on an annual basis, I knew that I could wait until after I finished my PhD and until after I finished my postdoc to start having children. If I had seen something that indicated that maybe my reproductive span was going to be a little bit shorter, then I would then I would probably shift those conditions to ensure that I could have the family that I wanted. So what were your conditions for having children?
My conditions for having children. Well, it was very important for me to have my partner because, you know,
your awesome partner.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Teamwork does make the dream work.
And yeah, I found
Hi.
that I just think that was one. And you know, just us being on the same page. I think we were decisive.
We were very decisive.
Being decisive,
yes.
like a decisive move is trimestering.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yes,
you make a decision to take the next step, and you know, the conditions for me were just you.
Yeah.
You know, there's no big secret there.
Thank
you. It's just you.
I love you. I feel the same.
And yeah.
Okay.
Being decisive. Taking decisive steps.
Totally.
And you know, I don't know if ever things are a perfect scenario to take the next step. I think if things are pretty good, you go.
Yes, that's so true. I think that's a really good point. Sorry, I feel like you're not in the window enough. Okay. So these Facebook videos always make me realize I need to pay more attention to the back of my hair. But anyway, one day I'll start doing that, everybody. Let's see. Okay, so I think this is really important because a lot of times in life, decisions get made for us through our indecision. Mm-hmm. And one thing that we see happen a lot in the Fertility and Pregnancy Institute and in working with couples and their trimestering is that it's easy to keep putting off decisive action about building your family because it never feels like the perfect time to have your family. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, well, maybe next year, well, let's just get through these next 6 months and then we'll do it. Right. And then it's like, oh no, let's get through the next 6 months and the next 6 months. And before you know it, 5 years have passed. And then people are starting to be fearful that they're running out of time or they are experiencing challenges and then they blame themselves for not being more decisive. And so I think that 2 things that you said are so critical. So I want to emphasize them. One is that there's never a perfect time. So if it feels like the right time, and most importantly, you're in the right place to do it, whether you're doing it on your own or you're doing it with a partner, if you're doing it with a partner, just to the extent that it's possible to ensure that that's the right person to do it with, that's huge, right? You always hear me say this, but having babies with the right person is blissful, and having babies with the wrong person is really, really hard. And thankfully, I haven't personally experienced it, but I feel like I have watched it very intimately through other people, through women I've worked with, and through women close to me. So that's one thing. There's never a perfect time, but know what your non-negotiable conditions are. That's why this is part of the Fertility Foundational Cost Benefit Analysis. And then the other thing is that once you meet those conditions, just moving into decisive, intelligent action. And the Primester protocol works your way through decisive, intelligent action so that you don't need to guess at what that decisive, intelligent action is. Hi, everybody. Hi, Takesha. Hi, Sarah Bear. I think that's you, Sarah. Hi, everybody. Lindsay, Brittany. Oh, so many awesome faces here. I know we have some people with us on Facebook. We're always neglecting you all. I apologize. Okay, so that's the second part. So first part is, what's my instinct about how long I have left in my reproductive span or my ability to have the timeline within which I can have biological children. Number 2, what are my conditions for feeling safe enough to be able to move forward with having my family or having a baby? And number 3, what is my desired family size? And the reason why this is so important is because it could be that I'll just take myself for example. So my estimate is that I have 8 years left in my reproductive span, and at least 8 years left in my reproductive span. And let's say I have my 3 babies, but let's say I want to have 5 more babies. My husband just fainted.
Oh,
But this is the hypothetical example, obviously, because, well, I was gonna say I don't want to have 5 more babies, but I'm not totally opposed to it. So let's say I want to have 5 more babies. Well, then as I always teach you, really you want to allow for 2 years per baby, because it's about 1 year of being pregnant, not getting pregnant. No. Because when we trimester for 4 months, and then ideally we go right into our conceiving phase, get pregnant, and can time when our babies are going to be born, or at least when their due date is. And then so it's almost a year of being pregnant, 10 months of being pregnant, because pregnancy is 10 months, not 9 months. And then you want to have about a year to allow your body to heal. In that time, you can be nursing your baby if you want to nurse your baby. I always aimed for, well, not always, because we space the second and third apart differently, but between the first and second, I wanted them to be 2 years apart. So I planned to get pregnant when our first baby turned 15 months. So I nursed him until 14 months. And so that, because I was planning to get pregnant the next month, which is what happened with the Get Pregnant in No Time formula. So you are allowing approximately 2 years per baby. So if I wanted to have another 5 babies, and I need about 10 years to have 5 babies, but I only have 8 years left on my reproductive span, then either I don't get to have my full desired family size, or I need to make some different choices. So one thing is that if I knew I wanted to have 5 more babies, but I only have 8 years left, then I could decide to primester and then do IVF to have eggs collected combined with Jair's sperm to make embryos, because I've primestered. Then I've maximized the number of viable embryos we have that can be frozen. So then I can still be having embryos transferred even after my reproductive span has closed, because the uterus ages at a much slower rate than the eggs or the rest of the reproductive system. So that's something that you want to be looking at. You want to be looking at the bigger picture, not just the step in front of you. Now, we are always just taking the next best step in front of us, but with the bigger vision and the bigger picture in mind. So those are the 3 pieces of your foundational fertility cost benefit analysis that you want to conduct as soon as you start to decide that you want to go for creating your family.
yes.
Anything else you want to add about that?
No, that's good.
Yes. Okay, awesome. So let us know if you have any questions about this foundational fertility cost benefit analysis. This is one of, hi everybody, I just did my cost benefit as part of the trimester protocol. Thanks for talking about this. Oh, I'm so excited. Congratulations. That's so awesome. It's really powerful, because remember that when you have that clarity about where you're going in life, whether it's about your family or anything else, you're so much more likely to achieve it. You're so much more likely to hit that goal that you set for yourself. That's why companies have a vision. That's why families need a vision too. We have a vision, a family vision that we set for ourselves every year. We create a physical manifestation or representation of that vision through our family vision board. We connect to that vision every day through our daily family practices, like our appreciations and the different conversations that we have, our meditation, peace starts with me, I love my family. We have this meditation that just affirms our core values, as a family. So when you have that, please save the live to your stories. I missed the beginning. Lindsay, we will totally do that. I promise you. Also, Lindsay, you can find the recording on Facebook. It will live there on the Fertility and Pregnancy Institute Facebook page. And my team is just starting to create a YouTube channel for us. So it'll eventually, we'll have a YouTube channel that we'll share with you all, but I promise to save this to stories. Okay, so Hungrest, that's a cute name. It reminds me of like Hungriest. It makes me think of our first baby who was like so hungry. We called him, his middle name is Tiger, but we would always call him our tigre, which is tiger in Spanish, because he like looked like such a tiger when he was hungry. You're so welcome, Lindsay. Okay, so that's why doing this cost benefit analysis is so important. And it doesn't mean that it'll never change, but if it changes, it's a deliberate change, one that you chose, not one that happens to you or to your life or to your fertility or to your biological clock or to your relationship by default, which is what we don't want to happen. Now, we can't control everything, nor do we want to try to control everything. That wouldn't be very fun. It would also make us crazy, but we can be conscious and intentional and deliberate about how we live our life, about how we conduct our partnership, and about how we take care of our biological clock and how we get to utilize our uterus or our reproductive potential in general. So I'm so glad you enjoyed it. It's because I'm always hungry too. That's so cute. That's what I thought. I'm like, it sounds like hungriest. I love it. It's so cute. I love it. Enjoy. So enjoy life. Life is to be taken in for sure. Okay, we love you all so much. We'll be back next Thursday. So if you are starting to think about having a baby, or you just want to learn about your fertility now so that you can preserve it and take care of it so that you have it for as long as possible, then what I want you to do is get the Ultimate Fertility Checklist. It's at fertilitypregnancy.org. And you can download it for free. It's open and available to everybody. And then we also have the Get Pregnant in No Time formula, which is an at-home way to identify your fertile window with the most perfect precision humanly possible without ultrasound. There's no app that can compete with it. There's, to my knowledge, no device that can compete with it. And you can utilize it as long as you're willing to commit and be impeccable about implementing the system. You can utilize it to prevent pregnancy while also learning about your fertility, not masking it, not harming it. And then by the time you're ready to have your babies, you will already know your fertility like the back of your hand. And then you can time the birth of your babies, which is always the goal. So enjoy, go get your fertility checklist at fertilitypregnancy.org. And if you want the Get Pregnant in No Time formula, I believe there's a link in my Linktree account in my Instagram profile. Otherwise, we'll post a link for you. All right, lots of love, everybody. Peace thoughts, as we say to our babies. Hi. Oh, Amy. Hey, Amy. So good to have you here. All right, everybody, we'll be saving this to stories, and it'll be on Facebook as well. Have a wonderful day. Peace thoughts, lots of love, and sprinkling all the baby dust in your direction. Hey, Amy, so happy you're here. All right, bye, everybody.